Hello, my friend. This is Clyde. Do not give up on your faith in God. Let me say that again. Do not give up on your faith in God. It's Friday, and that means the beginning of the weekend for some people who work 4 days a week. And for others, it is the last day of the work week. And for still some others, they wish they could have a job. And there are those who work every day. That's right. Life differs from person to person, and even when we each do the same thing, the same way, the same time, we don't always get the same results. Oh, today we're going to attempt to put a bow on this series on faith. How has it been for you? Do you think you might have some questions? You could probably find someone who is a Christian in your community and have a conversation with them. Maybe you could ask them, how does faith work for them? But this one thing I want to say to you before we go any further. You can do the faith thing too. Yes, you can. I don't know about you, but I've been enjoying these times together talking about faith. Anyway, in this final edition of the Faith Talk, let us look at some of the faith guys and see if we can learn some things. Let me start with Abraham. His faith journey started in Genesis 12. God told him about this promised land, and he left his home, and when he got to this new place, God told him that this was the promised land that he was standing on. But 3 chapters later, in Genesis 15, God told him that he, Abraham, would not possess the land, but in the 4th generation, your descendants will come back here. Genesis 15 and verse 16. That's about 400 plus years later. But earlier in the same chapter, God told Abraham something important. Abraham had said that maybe the descendants God is talking about was his servants. This man will not be your heir, says God, but a son who is your own flesh and blood will be your heir. Genesis 15 and verse 4. It got kind of messy after that when Abraham's wife, who couldn't have children, gave him this brilliant idea that he should go sleep with her personal assistant. And sure enough, the woman got pregnant and had a son named Ishmael. But God told Abraham that that was not the promised son. Are you with me? Abraham committed adultery, had sex outside of marriage in an effort to help God. Did that cancel the promise? It didn't. And Abraham and Sarah, I believe, confessed their sins and hopped on right back on the faith train. Several years later, they had the promised son named Isaac. Isaac was the one who had twins, Esau and Jacob. And Jacob was the one who the promise passed down to. And he had 12 sons. And these became the heads of the 12 tribes of Israel, who 400 plus years after Abraham took possession of the promised land. Abraham's faith and Sarah's faith worked together despite the bumps along their journey. If you slip and sin against God, don't let that destroy your faith. Get up and confess and receive forgiveness and keep on trusting and believing that that thing will come true. Stay on the faith track, my friend. Well, how about the folks in the verse that I'm about to read? By faith, the people passed through the Red Sea as on dry land. But when the Egyptians tried to do so, they were drowned. Hebrews 11 and verse 29. Mind you, it was just a short while before when they saw the oncoming traffic of Pharaoh's army coming for them and the Red Sea in front of them, the people of Israel panicked and they cursed Moses shamelessly and practically gave up on God's promise that God was leading them into the promised land. They feared that they weren't going to make it. Listen, when you have faith in God, always remember that there are going to be tests, and those tests come to discourage you. Those tests can mess up your spiritual focus. Faith tells you that it is impossible, but those tests tell you that it is not possible. Moses had to dig deep into his faith bag and do what God instructed him to do. Moses stretched out his rod over the Red Sea, and the waters parted, and a whole migrant nation walked across on dry land where the sea once flowed, and they landed safely on the other side. It's as if they put faith down when they panicked, but Moses said some reassuring words, and they started to believe again. It helps to have a Moses in your life, that when you are discouraged and you feel God has abandoned you and you're ready to give up on faith, your Moses will be there to say, no, do not give up on God. God will not give up on you. This is the last comment I want to make. If Hebrews 11 is a chapter of faith heroes, I believe there is a link to the next chapter, at least the opening comments. Listen to this. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who endures such opposition from sinners, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. Hebrews 12, verses 1-3. Jesus is the standard of faith. And so while you are on this journey of faith, you might be trusting God for something specific, or you believe God that at the end of life you will be going to heaven. In other words, it can be faith for a specific thing or faith for the rest of your Christian journey. Regardless, the writer tells us, do not let anything hinder you. No sin, no doubt, no disbelief. Keep running. If you fall like Abraham, get up and keep running. Keep faith alive. If it looks as though others are doing better than you, you keep your faith in God alive. Don't be discouraged if things are taking long or it seems like your prayer will not be answered. It is easy to give up on faith, but please don't give up. Always keep faith in God alive. Always have faith in God. You will have victory if you keep steady in your faith.